Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I've got a new and exciting product that is a Kickstarter product. Actually new, I have a prototype of it. This is Infusion's GhostTi. And as you can imagine, this is grade 5 titanium. So nice quality piece. So that being said, let's dive into this video. I'm going to tell you about this product, where to find it, what it's going to cost you. Stay tuned. Infusion is a fairly new company. They've been around for about 8 years, and Brian, the owner, who I had a chance to talk to, they're a company based out of Fountainville, Pennsylvania, and he actually works on these. Started off as a side gig, but now he does it full-time making these specialized products. If you go to his website, you'll see all of his previous Kickstarters. I believe there's been 7 Kickstarters up to date, and all of them have been successful. And currently, this knife is available to purchase, not on his website yet, but if you go to Indiegogo, you could actually find it there and purchase it. Now is the time, if you are interested in something like this, to get in early on these Kickstarters, because they give you a really good price on these knives. As I said, this is the GhostTi. It doesn't physically say it on anywhere, but that is its name. I did not get any packaging. There will be special packaging for the ones that you guys purchase that will go through all the details, but ahead of time, let's give you a rundown. So titanium grade 5, physical weight of this is actually really light. This is going to come in at about 0.7 ounces. As you can see, it is live on Indiegogo, and is only until the 24th of this month. So as you guys see this, I would rush over there before he starts to sell out those items to meet his campaign. And on the back, you can see here too, he talks about its strength, obviously, all of its functions, quick deployment, we'll go over that. Easy blade swaps, that is correct. It's super easy to do blade swaps. Here's his email if you want to reach out to him, or his website here, gearinfusion.com. This is your natural kind of, I wouldn't say sandblasted, but blasted. Has a slightly satin feel to it. Smooth but satiny to the touch. If you hop on the Kickstarter, you're going to have an option to purchase on dark gray, but you'll be able to purchase this also in light gold and bronze gold finishes. So what's unique about this? Well, you guys have all kind of seen other utility knives that when you want to pull out the blade, right, there's some sort of mechanism that lets them out, and it's usually multiple pieces on whatever knife it is that does it. There still seems to be a kind of fad with these minimalistic utility knives, and they definitely have their place depending on how you use your knives. But there's always some sort of deployment, some engagement, and in most cases, there's fasteners, there's moving parts. But when it comes to Gear Infusion, this is a single piece CNC body. So there are no pieces to it other than itself. I will admit that the magnetic is a separate part because you can't magnetize titanium, but we'll get into that in a second. So all of this is one single piece of titanium that's been CNC'd out to create this knife. Now, how it works is this arm right here protrudes out and actually works kind of as a quasi frame lock. So as you push it this direction, it relieves tension on the blade. And you can see right here is where the engagement happens. So the blade cannot slide out because of that, little nub right there. So as you press it, and this is the part where if you're new to the knife, it might be a little different getting used to, because you have to press it up. So you can either push with your finger up and then slide out to the locked position, or what seems to be happening is, as I'm getting used to this, you actually just naturally let it rest on your finger here and then push down just on the blade, and it naturally wants to go out. So you don't even have to push any specialized buttons. You're just letting it rest on your finger and letting it slide in and out. Super easy. And it lands in either one of these holes that you have on your utility blade. So you can have just this slight protrusion, or you go all the way to the maximum extension. And the only sound you'll ever hear of this knife is when it's at that spot in your blade. Right? He has to leave some tolerance for it to let the blade sit inside there. But movement is minimized. I mean, I can't hear anything on that. all these other knives, they all make noises. This one's actually does pretty good because it's got a spring lock in there. But what's really nice about this is also, and here's a nice little attribute that Brian mentioned, is you could do the gravity drop with this. So instead of trying to slide it back in, you could just point it upwards and press the button and let it fall right back down. So super easy to deploy, super easy to use. I will mention too that blades that have some sort of texture, like writing on there, if it's Stanley, if it's Milwaukee, whoever, it is a little bit easier. If you get a little bit greasy hands, it can be a little bit of a challenge, especially with this perfectly smooth blade to deploy and retract. Now once it's fully retracted, it's not going anywhere. Again, that nub's in the way. And here's the great part. That magnet back here is in place because it allows the blade to come back and stay there. So if the magnet wasn't there, this could potentially rattle. But as it is, I'll try to shake it for you guys. There's absolutely no way to make this rattle. It is quiet. It does not make a noise. And I love that because having a little rattly knife in your pocket is about as annoying as it gets. So as far as use, again, super easy deployment, slides out, locks into place, and I'll say here, the fitment and feel in your hand is great because he does a good job blocking this out, but he also creates this half crescent here that allows you to get a good feel, good purchase. So if you want to choke back, great spot for your thumb, or in my case, right there for your thumb as well. You get a good purchase on it, and you could just go in and make your cut as needs be. So does a great job that way. As you look, he's very much into angles, triangles in his design. It comes off really nice and actually clean. And it's also worth mentioning as you pull the blade out. So again, to pull it out, you just keep the tension on there, pull it all the way out. But it's worth mentioning how he put this together, how he designed, right, this knife. Because you'll notice here that the blade actually rides on these rails. There's 2 rails in the center, and there's 2 rails right there. Now, as the blade sits on those rails, right, they're not on the far ends by any means, right? They're backaways. And if any of you guys know, when you use a utility knife, let's say you're cutting a lot of boxes, as you saw here, that this tape you see here starts to bunch up, starts to collect, and your blade and your knife starts to get gooey. Well, the great part about that is it stays off of those portions of your blade that get the maximum contact with that sticky tape. So he's put it towards the center of those rails, and they're also minimalistic. It's not large rails that create friction. These are small rails. So the least amount of friction that you could possibly put on the blade, he's putting on these blades. That can't be said for all these other ones. They ride on the whole thing. Right? Or, right, this rides on a whole slide inside there. It takes a lot of pressure to move it. This doesn't. And that's what you guys will see here too when it drops. There's no tension on it. It's as slick as it possibly can be for deployment and for retracting. Now you also notice here that it has a paracord or rope cutter. Just loop it on here like so, and cut it. So not hard to do. That we don't have to worry about deploying it. It's also small enough in there too that your finger can't quite make it to the blade. So you're not going to cut yourself by reaching in your pocket or using this in your hand with that rope cutting section. Now what I also like to do, and let's get into the finite details, is as you get in here, you can see he has taken extra precaution to minimize the touching of the blade surface. So even here in the corner, he creates this little speed bump right here for it to rest on. So it's not attempting to poke into the corner of the blade. As you see here, the corner doesn't make it to the end. So you don't end up screwing up your blade edge, right? Let's see if we can zoom in close. You don't end up dulling out the corner of your blade. So I love that he's taken the time to do that. And everywhere you see a hole, he's done these nice radiuses and even chamfering, guys. This thing is super small, and so the chamfers you see are even smaller, but he's chamfering every edge of this knife as you go around. Anywhere it could possibly be sharp, it is chamfered. And then here's those, I guess that you guys see here, those rails that allow it to guide and minimize friction on the blade. Now, and here's the front side. Now it's also worth noting, if you look here close too, you'll see that the same happens down here on the blade. He's done a great job just creating this one flat here that keeps it up off of the blade edge, and that's going to help you keep that blade sharper for longer. So at that point, it's now resting here, and it's now only resting on this other edge down here. Now he's also took it another step. He's utilized, let's do the drop for you guys, let you watch it. Drops right back in there. He's also taken the time to utilize these two reliefs in here as well, right? So as your thumb is on here, it just keeps your thumb from catching on those potentially sharp points of the backside of the blade. Now this magnet has about 1.5 pounds of force. And what's unique about it, and it's unique about it compared to a lot of other knives, all the other manufacturers that I've seen do these, they always end up using some sort of epoxy inside there. Right, the epoxy the back, it go inside there. And it lasts for days, weeks, months, maybe even years, but then they end up popping out. What Brian's done is he's actually placed it inside there. Sorry, get the focus on here for you guys. And then he's press fitted this corner. So this whole thing is now under tension and will not come out. He turned it into a mechanical connection that is now not going to release that magnet. Now, what's nice about this knife, too, is it's TSA compliant. So if you're at the airport and you need to carry it with you, it's on your keychain or what have you, then you just take the second, pop out the knife blade, chuck it, and then just carry this. You're good to go. Now, you can still use this other edge over here. This is the edge that I like that he did, is it kind of works as a screwdriver still, too. So in a pinch, maybe with a large Phillips, you could use that to try to get something removed, but it's not the best for that. You could try to use it as a flathead, and that works actually. Works pretty decent. But what's also great too is you could also use it to still cut open a box. So there you go. Now you can still get in there and get into whatever you still need to get into if you don't have the knife present. And that's a nice feature to have on this blade. Now for the end here, you have a paracord. He actually currently has on this Kickstarter campaign, so hop on there to see how you get them. I believe this is a 550 paracord, and it's got a titanium little retainer here on the end, so you could run that through there. I found out the best way to run the paracord is through the front to the back. I'll show you why. So run it through. And pull it. And the reason for that is this magnet allows you to also stick this, to anything in your shop, right? So if it's a toolbox, if it's your refrigerator, that's what you're going to use. Now, if you have this lanyard in the way, though, it does kind of create a little bit of an issue. So you'll have to figure out, do you want to use it as a lanyard, or do you want to use it as just an open free carry, or on a keychain, or maybe you don't care about that magnet, but you be cognizant of that because it does create a little bit of a challenge if you're going that route. I think maybe it's a little bit of feedback to Brian. Maybe in future models, slide this piece when you're machining it and milling it, bring it over maybe a little bit so that lanyard could clear around it and you can still utilize that magnet. That's my thoughts on that. But otherwise, it's a great knife. It does everything it should. We'll show you some blades too, because all general blades fit in here so far that I've utilized. Also, so much easier to slide in there. Just because I could get greasy hands sometimes, and it's nice to be able to lock that in. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different in that it's not going to lock the same. The magnet does hold it, so it's not going anywhere. It's actually staying locked in there. but it will be, this would be a little bit different utilization in there as far as locking in place, just because of these dimensions of the blade. Now, serrated blades, much like the standard blades, drop right in, holds nice and tight. Easy to pull out and lock. Easy to use as needed. Does a great job cutting. Okay, works good. And then the final one, I want to show you something here a little bit different too. I'm going to use this Linux, just so you can see what it looks like with a 4-position blade. So, much like the 2, it fits in there, but with the 4-position, now you could roll out to smaller increments. So you just need to do like light cutting, boom, you get in there. Or you want to go one step further. Now it's back to almost the standard depth of the first click on a regular blade. And then I believe that's number 3, so a little bit further out. And then 4 will get you all the way out to there. So you get a lot of exposed blade at position number 4. So it's doing good because it's still on this hump here, and it's still in the front hump. So if you really want to get in and get a good deep cut on something, then there you go. Yeah. And again, the Linux, I like having that little bit of texture. I would say that if you have greasy hands, potentially like me, that's just an added benefit, is being able to put that on there. Or put your finger on that raised, textured lettering. Super nice knife setup, great quality. I'm gonna hand it to Brian. He actually creates a little assembly line in his house as they package these up. I think this one is made overseas, but he does all the packaging and stuff here in the US. And he actually employs several people, not just his family, but there's people who help put the paracords together and help with making the packaging and pieces. I'm excited for his Indiegogo campaign. So if you guys hop on over there, the price for this is going to be, was initially $50, but Brian lowered it to $35. So $35 for the knife. If you want this lanyard, hop on the Indiegogo site to find out how to get that. But just the knife as itself with the blade, it's going to be only $35. Titanium T5 grade. It's a no-brainer, guys. Really good price, really good deal, and you're helping support an American-run business. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you have one of these? Do you have a recommendation for one of these as well? I'm all ears, and if you guys haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below and hit the like button so you get future updates and so other people like yourself find this channel. It goes a long ways to help us out. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you soon.